Start recording this and minimize it. First of all, if I want to maybe think about solving this algebraically, there's a problem. If I multiply, let's say I were to cross multiply. Well, that would give me 14 is greater than or equal to x, right?
Yes.
Problem is, x is a variable. And I don't know if x is positive or negative. And whenever it's negative, I'm going to have to switch the direction of that sign. So whenever you're dealing with inequalities and you're dealing with variables, be very careful about multiplying or dividing both sides by the variable, because you don't know whether the variable is positive or negative. So it's not easy to solve this in the traditional way. And I could go through the math of how you would handle that, but there's a much easier method of solving this. When you're taking the ACT test and you come across a problem like this, there is only one best way to solve it. Back solve. So when their question is, what is the largest possible value of x, where should we start?
Common denominators?
No, with the largest possible answer.
All right, then 28, the largest one.
So is 28, is that greater than or equal to 1/7? What is 2/28 equal to? Simplify.
1/14.
Is 1/14 greater than or equal to 1/7?
It's less than 1/7.
So that's not the answer. Let's go down the list. Next number is 15. In other words, we don't want to even look at these numbers here because they wouldn't tell us anything. Because they want the largest possible, we want to start checking the large numbers and work our way down. Is that greater than or equal to 1/7?
That's 1/7.5.
So is that greater than or equal to 1/7?
It's less than as well.
Okay. Next one, 14. Is that greater than or equal to 1/7?
That is equal to.
That's our answer. In other words, is all we were looking for was the largest possible answer here that satisfied the equation, or the inequality rather. And 14 is it. But this illustrates a couple of things. First of all, it's a back-solving problem, always. In other words, if your life depended on getting the answer correct to this problem, you would check all 5 answers, right?
Yeah.
And you would determine, well, which was the largest one that worked. Obviously, these are going to work, and that's going to work. But the largest one that works is 14. Well, this is another interesting problem in that they've given us some information that is completely unnecessary. It's divided into 12 equal sectors. Well, a sector is this thing here. Okay, so if I divide each one into 3, I'll have 12 equal sectors. What's the angle of each sector?
Do we use the equation to find pi?
No. That's what's interesting about this problem is the circumference is completely unnecessary. We do not need that 46 pi number. It has nothing to do with the problem. What's the degree measurement if I go around the whole thing? In other words, if I start from here and go all the way around exactly one time, how many degrees?
12 parts is 360.
Okay. So what is each part?
So would it be 360 divided by 12?
Which is 30. So each of those sectors has a central angle of 30 degrees. So what do 5 of them total?
5 times 30, 3 times 5 is 15. It'd be 150 degrees.
Exactly. In other words, so 5 of them from there to there is 150 degrees. Notice that I never needed the 46 pi. Granted, that 46 pi would have allowed me to figure out the radius of this circle, but this is one of the few circle questions that doesn't require you to know the radius. And I say one of the few because 95% of the circle questions you get require you to know the radius at some point in the problem. But not this one. This one only requires you to know that it's 360 degrees around once. All right, these problems are going to be helpful for you when you take your ACT. They're not terribly valuable for your Algebra 2 class or your geometry class that you just finished, but it's kind of a logic kind of problem. They want you to be able to read tables and stuff like that.
All right.
So how do I get the average that entered over the course of the week?
You add them all together and then divide them by 5.
That's it.
All right.
We won't even take the time to do that. I presume you have a calculator, you know how to do that.
Yes.
And this might be one of the few calculator problems that you would benefit from having a calculator. You can make a pretty good guess without a calculator. I might guess in this neighborhood 433, but it's too close to 427 also. So it could be 427, it could be 434. It's going to be
434.
434? Yeah. In other words, even a problem like this, you could make a pretty educated guess without a calculator. Again, illustrating that they're not really rewarding people who know how to use their calculator fast. If I told you that that times that was equal to 0, what would the solutions be? Forget the problem we're looking at. Just look at this problem for a moment.
Plus 6 and minus 3.
Okay. So what you did was you set that equal to 0 and solved it. And you set that equal to 0 and solved it. Well, this question is giving you the answers, and it wants you to go backwards. In other words, almost all algebra and geometry problems, you want to be able to go both ways. If they give you the answers, you want to be able to come up with the linear factors. That is a linear factor times another linear factor. Well, Unfortunately, it was the first one, so I didn't get a chance to go through any of these others. But if x equal minus 3 is an answer, then x plus 3 is a linear factor. And if x equals 6 is an answer, then x minus 6 is a linear factor. So the answer is A.
Wait, why?
Why?
I thought it was C.
No, notice that if these were the two linear factors, the answer would be minus 6 and plus 3.
Oh,
In other words,
okay.
it's always opposite of these signs.
Yeah, I just got messed up on the...
It's okay.
I get the idea, though.
Okay, good. Now let's just try one other thing. Just so you know. If I had that, what are my answers? In other words, what are the solutions to this equation that I've written here?
Divided by 2 plus 5.
Okay,
So, like,
so we're
would
going
it
to
be 5
solve.
divided by 2?
We're going to solve that equation. Add 5 to both sides. So x equals 5 halves is one solution. The other solution is 3x plus 4 equals 0, which is x equals minus 4/3. Okay? The only reason I bring this up is I don't want you to think that every time you have linear factors, the solution is the opposite of that number. It's not. In other words, the way you solve this is taking each of the linear factors, setting them equal to 0, and solving each of those equations. It's only with simple ones like this, where there's no coefficient in front of the x, where you can just say the answers are the opposite of that sign and the opposite of that sign. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, 16.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Simplify this equation. Well, it's not even an equation. They want to know what this would equal after you simplify that expression. So what's the first goal?
Simplify.
Remove the parentheses by distributing the minus 2. So let's remove these parentheses. What do we get?
It would be 7 minus 2x plus 20.
Simplify further.
You can do negative 2x plus 27.
Okay. That is H. Write the equation that these words say. 60% of x equals 90. How would I write that as an equation?
Um, 0.6, then parentheses x parentheses equals 90.
Solve that for x.
I don't, divide .6, 90 divided by 0.6.
What's 90 divided by 0.6? You can use your calculator, but you don't really need to. What's 90 divided by 6?
90 divided by 6 is 15.
It's 1.5, which means 90 divided by 0.6 is 15. And again, let's say you didn't know how to algebraically state that. A lot of these problems, it's kind of difficult sometimes to state it as an algebraic equation. You didn't have any problems with it, but how else could I do this problem? Let's say I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to write it like that. Well, what would your next choice be of solution types? How would you go about trying to do it? Back solving.
X divided by 6 equals 90?
No, back solving. Remember the word. Because it's going to be what you're going to use for a lot of these problems when you do take the ACT test. It's not really applicable for your algebra class. You don't get the back solve in Algebra 2 class, but you do on the ACT test. So I could check all 5 of these answers if I needed to, right? Well, what's 60% of 1,500? It's not 90.
Oh.
What's 60% of 90? Well, it's clearly less than 90. What's 60% of 90? Oh, excuse me. 60% of X.
60% of X is unknown, but 60% of 90 is 54.
Well, hold on. Remember what we do when we back solve. We assume that these are X. So let's start from the top. Is 60% of 1,500 equal to 90? No. 60% is greater than half. Well, half of that's 750, so it's clearly no. That doesn't work. So therefore, 1,500 is not an answer. Let's go down. Is 60% of 150 90? Yes.
Yes.
That's the answer. Go no further. I was able to get the answer without being able to write and solve the algebraic equation. I don't know. The first time we did this, I think we said 15, right? But it was...
Yes, we said 1.5.
Well, remember the answer was 90 divided by 0.6. Do that in your calculator, you'll get 150.
Oh.
Something good to remember, Emily. If you are dividing a number by a number less than 1, it's going to get bigger. If you are dividing a number by a number greater than 1, it's going to get smaller. Well, 0.6 is less than 1. So when we divide 90 by a number less than 1, we better get a number greater than 90. So if our original answer, we came up with 15, we instantly know that that's got to be off probably by a factor of 10. In other words, when you divide 90 by 6, you do get 15. But when you divide it by 0.6, you move the decimal point. So it's got to be 150. But that's a key principle in math. In other words, if I divide the number 3 by 1.5, the result is smaller than 3.
Yes.
But if I divide the number 3 by 0.1, which is less than 1, the number is 30. It gets bigger. It doesn't get smaller.
That's just bizarre.
Well, remember,
It makes sense.
yeah, if you remember this, it'll help because there's an awful lot of math problems where you want to be able to do a ballpark check. You want to make sure that you're within a factor of 10. Because a lot of times it's pretty easy to be off by a factor of 10, as we found out the first time we did this. When we did this algebraically, I think we came up with 15. And that was off by a factor of 10. It's the right digits, but it doesn't have enough, the decimal point isn't right. So knowing this kind of stuff here is helpful. If I'm dividing 90 by a number less than 1, I have to get a number greater than 90. So if my digits came up to be 15, I know it's got to be 150. All right, let's try one more, even though this is a bit complicated.
Okay. Okay, the price of 1 box of popcorn
Is what?
is 1 popcorn, 1 drink, 5.10.
Okay.
1 popcorn.
So if 2 boxes of popcorn and 1 drink is $8.35, what does it allow you to actually calculate what the cost is of something?
Just subtracting the popcorns.
Yeah. In other words, the only difference between these 2 packages is 1 extra popcorn. So what's a box of popcorn cost?
I don't know.
What's $8.35 minus $5.10? That's the difference in those 2 packages.
$3.25.
Yeah, that's the only difference, right? In other words, the difference between one box of popcorn and 1 drink and 2 boxes of popcorns and 1 drink is 1 box of popcorn. So if the difference in price is these, then the box of popcorn must have cost $3.25. Now go back to the first sentence and tell me what 1 drink costs.
It's 5.10 minus 3.25.
You got it.
And that is 185.
Right. Let's do a short one. Unfortunately, I have a 4:30 that I don't want to be late to. So
All right, then we'll make it quick.
Let's do number 20, and then we'll make sure we go back and pick up 19 the first time next week. If r cubed is equal to 343, how do I get r?
All right.
What if I said r squared is equal to 25? How would you get r?
I would find the square root of 25 and r, which is r equals 5.
Okay, so when I say r cubed equals this number, how are you going to get r?
You cube root.
Okay, so r equals the cube root of 343. And one way to do these on your calculator, the easiest way, is to take it to an exponent. What's the exponent that means cube root?
3.
1/3.
1/3.
Square root is 1/2. Cube root is 1/3. Fourth root is 1/4, and so forth and so on. So you can do this in your calculator. Just put 343 raised to the 1/3 power, or you can raise it to the 0.333, whatever, and it should give you the answer or something that is going to round off to be the right answer.
Oh, So I got a new calculator, but I'm not using it right now because I have no idea how to use it. It's huge, but I just used the iPhone calculator and got 7.
Okay. So 7 is correct. 7 cubed is 343. So now what's 3r? If r is 7.
3 times 7, and that's 21.
That's all there is to it.
Oh.
Yeah. What kind of calculator did you get? The Inspire or the TI-84?
I'm getting it out of my backpack right now. I'm packing for school. It's quite soon.
Okay.
I got the TI Inspire CX.
Good. That's the best one.
I think the first week of school is just getting to know your calculator.
And it's going to be tough because it's a learning curve. This is not like the TI-84 at all, or any other calculator you've ever used. So there is going to be some learning to learn that. But and I can help you with that. I have one also. I have a TI Inspire CX. Okay, let's end it there and pick it up next time.
All right, well, thank you.
All right, Emily. Bye-bye.
Oh, wait, what is our next time? Is it the 12th at 5:30?
It is.
Awesome. All right, just making sure I have the correct dates. My mom's out of town, so she can't remind me.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Talk to you.
hey.
Bye-bye.